Today we're speaking to Mlynnthomas. Welcome, Mlynnthomas, to Wellness Master Q&A. How are you doing today?
I'm well today. Really glad to be here with you, Jason.
Excellent. We have a lot to talk about, which is excellent. From your bio, you mentioned that your dad was a professional football player for the Washington Redskins. How was that growing up with a professional football player? Was fitness involved in your whole lifestyle?
Definitely. As a little girl, my experience with my father's career, professional career, actually began with his dad. He was a professional football player. Fortunately, back then, they weren't able to be accepted to play fully in the league. He passed his gifts down to his son, my dad. And I tell you, growing up around football players, all of his friends were NFL football players, their sons became football players. It's just a world of football. It was interesting though, one thing, there's only one negative thing about having a professional football player as a father. Can you imagine how spankings would be?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
They never talk about that. Awesome. But, otherwise, he was an awesome dad. The character with the football players back in that day, it was a different culture. They were wired differently. They were groomed differently. Their coaches back in those days, the coaches, and I'm talking early 70s and beyond and earlier, the coaches weren't just instructors. They were their fathers. They were second fathers. So there was a certain standard of quality that football players, including my dad back in the day and my grandfather, they carried. They were great sons, wonderful husbands, and great fathers. And I had one of them.
That's excellent. And did you get free game tickets to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that?
Got it. Now, when I was born, my dad's career had ended. He had a few years with the Redskins. He traveled to different football teams. However, Redskins was his last. However, whenever it came to football functions, award shows, or things like that, we were always in the mix.
That must have been nice to go to professional games for free. You don't have to worry about all that and get front row seats and everything.
Yes,
So
it was really interesting. It was really interesting. And it's interesting to see how it evolved. Today, my dad is always at every football game watching on TV. And it's interesting to hear his depiction of what is going on, what will happen, because he used to play on the field. It's interesting.
The sideline commentaries, right?
Absolutely. We have our own personals. Really interesting.
In your bio, you mentioned you went to college for biology to become a dentist. What made you want to become a dentist, and what happened in college that changed everything for you?
Great question. I chose dentistry, honestly, because I was influenced. I had a family member and I was a little girl, and I thought it was so amazing. I didn't even know, honestly, what dentistry was. However, he impressed me so. I was like, wow, he's amazing. I should go into dentistry. So that became my platform based upon influence. When I was in college, I did internships, and I'm like, oh, okay, I love this. I'm going to be a dentist. Great. My husband and I were married, and I was married, still moving on to dental school towards the end of my, after college. And I found out that I was with child. And Jason, right then, once I heard the news, I knew that I was not supposed to be a dentist. That was never my calling. Now, hindsight, never want a child just to pick a field influenced by someone else. And I'd love to share that later. However, there was a calling inside of me, and it was the life of my child. And I knew then I did not want to spend the rest of my life away from my child. I wanted to invest in my child. And that's how I shifted into the field that I'm in now.
That's an excellent story, because I know that you homeschooled your children. And for all the homeschool moms listening out there, they definitely can feel what you've been through and how it is to be a homeschool mom and how convenient it is and also challenging at the same time. Give us a rundown of what you did for your kids through health and wellness. You mentioned that you did food, special diets, also special healing through the food, and what kind of challenges that are positive and negative factors of being a homeschool mom, or even with helping with the diets and the planning a healthy lifestyle for your kids.
Awesome, awesome. You know, when I began homeschooling, when I heard the call within me to homeschool, it opened a plethora of expansion of different levels of my healing and awareness of myself, my purpose in life, and the world and people around me. It was through my children and just the everyday life that I heard and began to learn what is true and what is not true. It actually began for me when I first started hearing the call. My husband, he was from Memphis, Tennessee. He didn't know anything about homeschooling. And he was like, babe, you know, I know you're a healthy person, but I'm not ready to live on Little House on the Prairie. So that was a journey. That was a fight there. But my son was in a program called Kuman. And the program, the owner of the program, it was located in Hendersonville, Tennessee, phenomenal woman. And I believe she's still the owner today. And she told me, I was expressing to her the challenge of myself accepting what I was hearing from my child and helping my husband. And she told us, she said, you know what? God gave your children to you first. Everything else is an option. And when I heard that profound word, I knew that it was something I had to do. My son actually went to school a few years because my husband needed time to really wrap his mind around it. I worked with my son even when he was in the womb. When he got there, he wasn't performing as well. And it was a design school. And my husband realized what was going on. He said, you know what, pull him out. Let's go ahead and do it. And we've never looked back. We've successfully graduated him. He's phenomenal. He's now a finance economics student with desires to be a financial analyst, securities analyst. I have to get it right. And we have our daughter now. It was through raising them. We had health issues. And I was an obedient citizen. I did everything the doctor said. And disease came into our home. And it literally blew me to the core. Our son had hearing loss. He has some hearing loss in his ear. He was diagnosed as autistic. I had to heal him through that, through one-on-one direction and education. And he was successful and he moved through. My daughter began receiving MMR vaccinations. And her last one, I remember in the doctor's office, we were homeschooling, so I really didn't feel the need to really push that. And the doctor said, you don't want anything bad to happen. I felt fear, not truth, but fear. And I went on and allowed her to have it. And 2 weeks later, she came down with an autoimmune disease called Crohn's or colitis.
Wow.
And she just turned 7. It was devastating. And we spent 7 years trying to save her life. I had to fight against Child Protective Services and the hospital administration and the doctors. However, truth prevailed because I had to learn how to listen to the truth in me. I bless doctors. I am grateful for the medical system, even where we are today. I have to do my research, which I'm glad I majored in biology. However, doctors save lives, but to heal the body, we need truth and we need foods and we need health.
And what kind of foods? I'm very curious on what foods helped with the autism and also general health. I know everyone listening wants to know what they could consume to feel better, look better, and live longer or healthier. That's the main question. That's a big question for everyone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's a lot of information out there that can truly confuse individuals. They're like, oh, I use this. Well, that didn't work for me. Oh, I use it. Listen, I lived it. And here it is. Whatever your ailment is, you have to treat the ailment and give it a team. For example, my daughter was gut issues. Okay, she had gut disease, incurable. It's incurable. Okay? An individual has to live on medications and operations, and then it flares out and it moves to the rest of the body. Okay, I had to create a team. The first person on my team was an iridologist, who was also an herbologist. An iridologist is an individual that can look into the pupils of your eyes and see all of the state of your organs. It was our iridologist that told us she has a really bad infection in the gut. It could be autoimmune disease. Guess what? When we had to rush her to the hospital said the same thing, except they had to go into her and tell us the exact same thing. So we worked with an iridologist and herbs. You know what? It takes a team. Outside of that, we continued to work with the doctors. Then we had a diet coach. We chose macrobiotics. Okay. And then our fourth person was a functional doctor, a doctor that understood our pathway and what we were wanting to do. All of those individuals together helped us bring our daughter to where she is today, where she is symptom-free. We did it without meds, and we just had foods, an iridologist, herbologist, functional doctor, and then the medical system. Guess what? There was only one person that fell off the team, and it was the medical doctors.
Very good. That's excellent information. When we come back, we'll talk more about the diet, because I'm really intrigued about more about the diet and go into more of your background. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Welcome. We're back now at Mlynnthomas. We're just talking about diet and how it helped so much, and how to diagnose symptoms through different methods and how to heal your body. Monica, give us a little bit more rundown about the diet. Have you heard of prebiotics and probiotics? And do you use those personally?
Absolutely, absolutely. We actually chose probiotics. Probiotics for the reason of, because of my daughter's gut disease, we had to get the right kind of bacteria in there to help us fight. Over the years, from the first time my daughter received the MMR, I noticed as a little girl, a little baby, she started getting watery eyes around seasons. And then the next time she got her MMR, she developed respiratory whooping coughs. And then it was the third one where it sent her into an autoimmune disease. And because of that, of the nature of the disease, we had to give the organ the support that it needed. It needed the right type of healthy bacteria to fight. Okay? And there are many levels of prebiotics, probiotics. However, you want to listen to the body. You have to pay attention to the systems. My daughter's body was saying, we need extra help, but we need foods that the sensitive walls of the colon can heal. Okay. So I didn't run out and begin getting, vitamin D and this and collagen and this. I had to listen to the body. Grateful that it was out there, but I had to listen to the body. And when you're fighting disease, and we'll get into the foods and things of that nature, it's best to have a professional team. Mm-hmm. Because I could have been out there in woo-woo land, but it was my iridologist who was educated as an herbologist and said, we need to get this probiotic in there. We need to get some L-glutamine in there to start healing the walls. Okay? We need to start getting some other supplements in there. So we focused on that. We noticed things started calming down. However, she was still in a life-threatening state, because it's easy to break down the body, but it takes time to reverse and heal. Outside of that, when it came to the food, because it was gut, we had to go plant-based. And for us, what life brought to me, and that's where the truth came in, because number one, I have to start here. I had to have a spiritual conscious sense because what I was dealing with was outside of me. And so I am a spiritual person. I began speaking because it was too much. And I'm a soft person. I'm kind of weak. So I was on my way having a nervous breakdown. It's one thing when we're sick, but when you see your child dying, a whole other game. So I began to speak in the atmosphere. I need help. This is too much for me. All of a sudden, someone heard about my situation and referred a macrobiotic world-renowned specialist here in Tennessee to me.
Wow.
Macrobiotics is a cancer diet. However, it helps heal many facets of disease. We chose macrobiotics because it is a root vegetable, earth-based diet. And instantly, within a few hours of soups, teas, because the science of the food was gentle enough for her colon to receive. And over time, we were faithful and we relied on our guide, our coaches, our team. So for my daughter, her foods were macrobiotics. Today, we still eat a plant-based diet because we are faithful to our way of escape. It is a long-term lifestyle for her because her body experienced the damage it did from the vaccinations. We have to be faithful to the characteristic and the identity of her body. Tissues heal, they will be whole, but that virus is still in there, that vaccine. So we always want to be faithful to the way of her healing. So it's macrobiotics, it's brown rice, it's warm cooked foods. We listen to the shift of the earth and we shift our foods to a different season type foods, but it's plant-based. Now, if I can share, my son, who I believe had vaccination injuries as well, but it wasn't as major as my daughter's, he developed severe allergies. And he was diagnosed under the autistic umbrella. Back in the day, they call it Asperger. Now, my son is high functioning. No one would ever know. But they will notice his structure, his posture, his correct dialect and speeching. And he is not an extrovert. He is an introvert.
The richest people in the world actually dealt with Asperger's. Bill Gates, many actors.
Yes.
So they're very focused. I'm not the most focused. So I honestly wish I had have something, but just more focused because they're very detail oriented and super great memory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that my grandmother always told me, if you want to know what your child is supposed to be, pay attention to how they play. I remember that. My son played with trains, cars, things of that nature, Transformers, Legos. Okay. So everything was going on here, but it wasn't always expressed here. And so what I did was I created an environment for him. That's what helped us with the umbrella issue. He was homeschooled. So I was able to create an environment that didn't stress him, but allowed him to be in his passions. And as he grew, we expanded it. We introduced Boy Scouts. He is an Eagle Scout.
Oh, nice. Right.
We put him in community programs where he interacted with other individuals. And he has evolved. He's successfully finishing his second year at Sanford University in Alabama.
That's really great information. That's right.
Yeah. So it's all about creating. We have to listen. We have to be at a place. As far as his diet, because he had severe allergies. Okay? I worked with an allergist, a holistic allergist. We did the test, found out all the foods for my sons with his itchy eyes, allergies. It was horrible when he was young. He looked like he was beat up and his eyes were puffed up. The doctors would do antibiotics, inflammation, things of that nature. It worked against his gut. So with my son, who is older, we had to extract ingredients from his food. Typical cheeses, breads, things of that nature, and move him to a plant-based. Interesting. His body didn't really like meat.
That's true. It goes by your blood type. A lot of people say type O's can handle the meat products, and
Yes,
type A and B are definitely more prone to the Asian Mediterranean style form of eating, like paleo and different styles of eating.
absolutely. And my son is more so paleo. Okay?
Hmm.
He does more so the paleo. Because he's in college, he had to lean on animal meat some, but he has to stay away from the sugars, the breads, the pastas, because his body begins to speak and he receives nodules
Mm.
and he's more tired in the skin and sleepy. So it was through foods that we learned for him, as well as his neurological state, that we had to move more to the plant. So I had a lot going on.
It seems like it. And it's all anti-inflammatory oriented. You reduce
Absolutely.
inflammation, you can heal your body. That's the biggest part of it.
Yes, I had to be at a place where I was conscious.
Hmm.
That meant I had to be balanced. And I wasn't, because I had some childhood baggage that I was carrying. Again, I fell into meditation. And through meditation, I learned how to calm, to heal, speaking out into the atmosphere. I do believe that there is a God. And every time I did that, my state of mind and my emotions became balanced. I'm a strong meditator. I meditate every day. I detox every day. And after 23 years of marriage and successfully fighting battles for my children, I am who I am today. None of the baggage that I carried within my own self was ever transferred to my children. And I attributed that to being in sync with the earth, being one with my spiritual state, and learning how to hear truth. Anyone can have truth. Truth is around and with every single human being. The question is if an individual is ready to receive it, to do the work to receive it. I did the work.
That's very good. Yeah, you're an excellent example of you got to put the work in and your health will benefit from that.
Yes.
The one great question I have is what is your definition of total wellness? If you were to sum it up in a few sentences, what total wellness would be for you as a definition?
And I can put it in sentences, but it's one word: truth. The truth of the matter was vaccinations for my children, based upon their body types, it was a false sense of wellness. So I had to find the truthful way for them. Total wellness is based upon truth. It has to be, because there's one thing about truth: truth can never be false. You have to find the right diet, you have to find the right reasons, and you have to find the right support. Truth is the key to wellness.
And that's interesting that that's a good example of knowing what's right for your body, which is a really and really important for everybody to listen to. Everyone wants to make up stuff on the spot, but that's a great example what you're mentioning. And Monica is very wise and very gifted with her speaking. And speaking about speaking, you were a guest speaker and a professional speaker for mental and emotional wellness. Give us a little rundown about that. And Monica and I are also fellow Toastmasters. If you don't know what Toastmasters is a public speaking group that helps you public speak and learn how to speak clearly in front of other individuals. Give us a
Yes.
rundown a little bit about the mental emotional speaking that you do. I'm really intrigued by hearing more about that.
Yeah. Well, I provide public speaking venues and environments for individuals that are in different compartments. Thanks to Toastmasters, it trained me to be able to position myself to share what is on my mind, what I've experienced. And because of that, Jason, I'm in a few different compartments. For one, because of the journey of my children, I share with other mothers. I share with other families who are walking through disease and desiring to reverse it. So I share information as to which functional doctor to connect with, what type of team that you need, things of that nature. So I help them put their team together. Just this morning, I worked with a young lady who's having issues with their kidneys. I know a woman who reversed herself off of dialysis. So I share information in that capacity of public speaking. I have a different platform of speaking where it's biblical, spiritual wellness. And I know there's different compartments of spiritual beliefs. However, I just start from the basic truth that we are phenomenal beings and that around us, even in the air, are answers. And I inspire individuals to listen to their spiritual self from a divine place and begin making the connections to create a balanced life of spiritual wellness. So I speak to spiritual and emotional wellness, and I speak to natural physical wellness.
That's really a great example. I never thought about that type of speaking for the spiritual and emotional all combined together. That's really, really a great avenue to focus on. I know everybody listening out there really wants to put the puzzles together to get to complete wellness.
Yes.
And that's what I'm doing, interviewing other individuals to really kind of capture that complete wellness, overall sense of well-being.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you like to talk about your speaking? I know if anyone dealing with anxiety and stage fright out there, what would you recommend them doing before they go on stage, or how to prepare to speak in front of people? I know we spoke a little bit about this a while back.
Absolutely. Listen, the first thing that I would want an individual to do is to acknowledge without, how do I say, without judging themselves or giving themselves a negative mark, which makes them feel bad. Acknowledge the fact, hey, I'm scared. I'm nervous. Okay? That's the first step. A lot of individuals begin to just self-doubt and things of that nature. You don't have to do that. It's okay. Everybody is nervous. That's why I joined Toastmasters, because I was nervous speaking in front of individuals. The first thing you want to do is to acknowledge and be okay with the fact that you're nervous. Okay? The second thing is to connect with Toastmasters. Connect with this organization and start practicing on addressing the issue. I learned that from my own personal walk. Toastmasters helped me to do that. I had to address the issue that my daughter's body was in a state of dis-ease. Okay? I found the team, the tools to assist me. That's what Toastmasters does. When you're getting ready to speak, one of the number one things that helps an individual is when you're prepared, when you know what you're going to say, and when you've practiced it, that takes away a good 80% of the nervousness. Because you have something to lean on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? The last part is find something that gives you comfort. There are tools or techniques that you have to do. I mentioned to you, when you get ready to step up, imagine that you're covering yourself with comfort, a blanket, a coat. And think about the fact, mental work. Think about the fact that you have a comfortable coat on. And when you're standing in front of them, you realize, I feel so cozy. Let me rely on this speech, and then I'll just speak.
That's excellent advice. I have used that, and it does really work.
Awesome, Jason.
Monica, is anything else you'd like to tell our listeners out there that we may not talked about, and how can we contact you, if so, to talk about your public speaking and for them to get a hold of you? Is there any contact information?
Absolutely, absolutely. Before I share that, I just want to say that we are all human. Different shades of skin color, different cultural backgrounds. However, our hearts beat. Our blood flows throughout our bodies the same way. We are all deserving and entitled to true wellness. I want you to open your mouth and allow yourselves to have it. I want you to speak I deserve wellness. I want wellness in my life. And no matter the compartment that you are bringing wellness in, whether it's relationships, child rearing, health issues, child trauma, if you ask for truth, it's going to come.
That's very well said.
Anyone would like for me to share my story, my journey, my wisdom, they can reach me via email, Mlynnthomas@comcast.net. That's M as in mother, Lynn as in Nancy, Thomas, THOMAS, @comcast.net.
And we'll attach all your information to the bio on the podcast so everyone can contact you and find out all the information for you. But thank you so much, Monica, for joining us today. I greatly appreciate all the information and the insights that you have. I hope you have an awesome, fit day, and to take care. Have a great one. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jason, thank you for having me. And I will have an amazing day.
You're very welcome. Have a great day, Monica. Take care.
Well, bye-bye.